Elections in a country where the purchase and sale of weapons are free can bring a lot of assassinations. Competition between two or more electoral candidates brings many supporters or opponents. Throughout American history, fate has not been very sweet for presidents. There have been 12 attempts to assassinate the current president, which 5 of them was successful. And in this video, we are going to discuss these 5 assassinations. Hello guys, here is Lion Fact Channel. In here, I upload videos that tells about interesting stories and facts that maybe you didn't know. So please be sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. Number 5, Abraham Lincoln, 1865. This man was the person behind this assassination, John Wilkes Booth. After the American Civil War and the exchange of prisoners between the South and the North, most of the exchanges were done according to the skin color of the imprisoned officers, until Lincoln issued an order to stop exchanges until skin color no longer mattered in it. Before this law, Booth planned to kidnap Lincoln and resume the exchange of prisoners for his freedom, but after hearing that issue, he changed his plan to assassinate him. On April 14, 1968, when Lincoln went to watch the show Our American Cousin in the Ford Theater in Washington, D.C., Booth saw this situation as excellent and decided to assassinate on this day. Lincoln's bodyguards were not there on the day of the assassination, and his only bodyguard was walking in the corridor of the theater. At this moment, Booth entered the room where Lincoln was there and hid himself somewhere. He memorized the playwright, and waiting for the funny moment to audience get laugh and shoot him in the head so that no one would hear the sound. He did it and shot him in the head and then ran away from the scene. Lincoln died 9 hours later and Booth was shot dead in a barn in Virginia 12 days later. Number 4, James Garfield, 1881. He was the 20th president of the United States who was only able to preside for 4 months and became the second president to be assassinated. The killer of Garfield was Charles J. Guiteau, an almost mentally insane person. He was a writer and lawyer. He supported Garfield in a speech and thought that his speech made Garfield win over other candidates and expected him to reach political office, but he was ignored. Guiteau tried several times by going to the White House and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and meeting with officials to make his efforts appear important and to achieve political status, but all of them were fruitless. Guiteau was estranged from his family, and they considered him mentally ill and wanted him to be hospitalized. This caused his perfectionism to become a violent process to reach power. He believed that he was ordered by a higher power to kill Garfield. He later said that, "I leave my justification to God." Garfield was scheduled to leave Washington on July 2, 1881 for his summer vacation, which was reported in the Washington newspapers, and Guiteau lay in wait for him at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad station. As Garfield entered the station's waiting room, Guiteau stepped forward and shot the president from behind. The first bullet grazed the president's shoulder, and the other struck him in the back. He died in Elberton, New Jersey, 2.5 months later on September 19, 1881 from his wounds, and Guiteau was executed after the trial. Number 3, William McKinley, 1901. He was the 25th President of the United States, was shot on the grounds of the Pan American Exposition in the Temple of Music in Buffalo, New York on September 6, 1901, 6 months into his second term. The person behind this assassination was Leon Czolgosz, an anarchist and fastidious person. He lost his job several times and became interested in the theory of anarchism, a philosophy that had caused the death of many politicians in Europe, and now it had grown in America. Leon believed that William was a cruel and oppressive person and was convinced that as an anarchist, it was his duty to kill McKinley. McKinley was not one to use bodyguards and security protocols and freely appear in public places. On September 6, 1901, he appeared in the Music Museum almost without a bodyguard. People and officials welcomed McKinley's presence. Each of the officials shook hands with McKinley and welcomed him, while Leon came forward with a gun that he had hidden under a napkin and shot the president in the stomach, injuring him. McKinley died on September 14th of gangrene caused by the wounds. Czolgosz was tried, convicted, and executed by electrocution 7 weeks later on October 29, 1901. Number 2, John F. Kennedy, 1963. He was 35th president of USA that assassinated. On November 22, 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated while riding in a presidential motorcade through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas. Kennedy was in the vehicle with his wife Jacqueline, Texas Governor John Connally, and his wife Nellie, when he was fatally shot from the nearby Texas School Book Depository by Lee Harvey Oswald, a former U.S. Marine. The motorcade rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where Kennedy was pronounced dead about 30 minutes after the shooting. At the age of 15, Oswald claimed to be a Marxist and studied socialist works. During his lifetime, he traveled to countries that followed the same theory, including Cuba and the Soviet Union. After the assassination, Oswald returned home to retrieve a pistol. He shot and killed lone Dallas policeman J.D. Tippit shortly afterwards. Around 70 minutes after Kennedy and Connally were shot, Oswald was apprehended by the Dallas Police Department and charged under Texas state law with the murders of Kennedy and Tippit. 2 days later, at 11:21 a.m. on November 24, 1963, as live television cameras covered Oswald's being moved through the basement of Dallas Police Headquarters, he was fatally shot by Dallas nightclub operator Jack Ruby. Like Kennedy, Oswald was taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where he soon died. Ruby later said he had been distraught over Kennedy's death and that his motive for killing Oswald was saving Mrs. Kennedy the discomfiture of coming back to trial. Oswald's death buried all the evidence about Kennedy. To this day, there are many assassination theories, but it is not yet known who ordered Kennedy's assassination. Number 1. Robert F. Kennedy, 1968. In fact, Robert Kennedy had not yet become the President of the United States and was a candidate for the 37th presidency of the United States. After John's assassination, his brother Robert plans to become president, but he does not know what is waiting for him. His presidential campaign began on March 16, 1968, when he was a United States Senator from New York. He won the California and South Dakota primaries on June 4th and addressed his campaign supporters in the Ambassador Hotel's Embassy Ballroom, a destination that Robert will not survive. Sirhan Bashira Sirhan was the person behind the assassination. Robert Kennedy was one of the supporters of Israel and Zionist. In his numerous speeches, he supported Israel and announced his and America's readiness to face any threat to Israel. On the other hand, Sirhan was a Palestinian and Jordanian man who was strongly anti-Zionist and wanted the liberation of Palestine from Israel. Kennedy's speeches and support for Israel increased his desire to assassinate. On June 5, 1968, Kennedy's supporters gathered at the Ambassador Hotel. After speaking for several hours, he decides to leave the hall. Due to the crowd, the security officers suggest the kitchen corridor, where Sirhan is present. In the crowd, Sirhan comes forward and seriously injures Kennedy by firing several bullets. Immediately, the reporters who were next to Kennedy were able to disarm Sirhan. Kennedy died approximately 25 hours later at Good Samaritan Hospital. Sirhan was sentenced to life imprisonment, and he is still alive today and is 80 years old. In 1989, Sirhan told British journalist David Frost, "My only connection with Robert Kennedy was his sole support of Israel and his deliberate attempt to send those 50 fighter jets to Israel to obviously do harm to the Palestinians." In your opinion, what was the reason for the assassination of these presidents? Was it a grudge or a power struggle? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video so far. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video as much as you can.